Yeah, hey Don. Interesting day for you guys. Obviously, when you look at what happened across the league, just as far as some of the prices that were paid out there. Um, yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, you hang on to your UFAs, which you basically said you were going to do, unless you came up with a deal that really, blew you away. Were there any moments that made you kind of rethink that decision? Were there any offers that kind of, made you to rethink that or no?
No, there wasn't any offers to speak of. We had a couple hockey trades that we were talking about, but nothing that materialized. Actually, I think we set some great ground for summertime with some teams because some teams that didn't want to give up a lot right now, but they had interest in some of our guys. So we had some good conversations. We knew going in, we weren't going to. First of all, there's so many teams in the mix, and there's so few players. At one time, I know at 3 o'clock before all the trades were even finished, it was the lowest trade date in the history of the league. We knew going in there wasn't going to be a lot of players, and the players that were going to be available were going to be very expensive. And I'd said all along, we're not going to give up first round picks for rental players. It doesn't make sense where we are. And we also got to remember that this team's done a great job this year to get us this point. We added Boone Jenner on the 22nd of February. It's like a new addition. It didn't play all year. Got Chinnikov back here the other night, and we're going to get Monahan and Silly back. So, this group's done a great job. They deserve to keep going forward. And, the biggest thing for us is we didn't rip guys out of this.
Do you think that tight race, especially in the East, is what ultimately drove the price up for the teams that really wanted to add something here? And were you surprised at all at how high some of the prices got?
Yeah, I was, but I've always said two dangerous day in hockey are July 1st free agency and trade deadline days. At the end of the day, one team's going to be happy, the team that wins the Stanley Cup. You always watch around the league. Obviously, our division wasn't as busy as some of the other divisions. Obviously, Florida and Tampa and Toronto added some pieces, and then out west it was very interesting to watch what's going on. But there's so many teams, not just in the East, in the West too. The West was a little bit decided a week or 10 days ago with just two teams, Calgary and Vancouver are fighting it out, but now St. Louis has got back in the race. Utah's got back in there. So, there was less players on all my years. This is the less players I've seen on the market than any year before.
Next, we'll go to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Don. Wondering if how you see Luke fitting in here, both short term with your centers injured, Sillinger and Monahan, and also where he might fit when those guys come back. And he plays center and wing. Will he play center and wing?
Yeah, he can play all forward positions. I had both him and Christian Fisher back at the U.S. program back years ago. Both players, first of all, are outstanding people, and it goes back to what we talked about months ago with the guys that we brought in here during the year or beginning of the year is where they're good players, but they're good people, and we had to continue that here. I want to continue that forever, but this year's exceptional to make sure we get the right people. So, but Luke can play any forward position. He's played them all. Obviously, he's been a natural centerman for years, but he's played the wing. Dean coached him in Minnesota. Dean liked him as a player. He's a very trustworthy player. When you put him in a spot, he would succeed. And he's a coach's dream as far as he'll do what he asks him to do. So, having that experience also goes a long way. And when I talked to Luke, he was excited about being here.
Yeah, he has a good size, not great size, but he plays a sort of a stiff, firm game. Did the way last night's game played out have any role in you thinking maybe he'd be a good fit for this group?
No, I can't measure just one game. And, we just got through playing the Stanley Cup champions. They're the reason they're as good as they are. And, the last two games give us an opportunity to see, okay, this is where we want to get to.
Yeah.
So it's hard to measure one or two games, but certainly, adding a little size and a little grit always doesn't hurt, and especially the roles that both guys are going to play, where they're up and down guys that finish checks and hopefully chip in now and then. So, but yeah, the individual games have no effect on our decision making.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Stephen Wino from the Associated Press. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Don, you mentioned maybe your division wasn't as sort of active as the rest. I'm just curious how you see the Metropolitan now after sort of a lack of activity, maybe Carolina getting a little bit weaker and such.
Yeah, I don't know if they got weaker, but certainly, there's a lot of good teams. I know a couple teams. Jersey's going through some injury issues and that, but every player that's in each of those locker rooms are proud athletes, and they're all playing to try to do the same thing, get into the playoffs. Getting into the playoffs, having success there helps the team, and also helps them individually going forward. So nobody's giving up, that's for sure. It's going to be a tight race the rest of the way, and we're just hoping that we can continue to win more games when we lose. If we do that, we'll be in good shape.
You mentioned how few players were out there available. Do you think that's what caused such a high prices around the league, just a lack of inventory of available players?
100%. There's more teams that were buyers than there were sellers. That's for sure. It's when you're in demand like that, and teams, especially some of the bigger teams, you see the Colorado, Dallases, and those teams did. They're all going to win today, and they wanted to make the additions that they thought would give them an opportunity to compete for the Stanley Cup. So, there's a little different world right now when you're those teams versus the rest of us. And that's where we want to get to someday.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Michael Ayres. Go ahead, Michael.
Don, as you mentioned, this can be a very dangerous day for general managers. Is it fair to say that your mentality heading in was do no harm?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Our scouts work all year for 2 days basically, and that's today and free agency, and we were well prepared. What I always say is you never know what's going to be thrown at you. So you got to make sure you're prepared for every situation, and I really felt we were. There's some names thrown around that we just didn't have interest in, and names that we probably didn't think were going to be on the market. So, but the mentality going in was we're not going to trade first round picks for rental players. We'll make hockey deals for sure, but we didn't want to just give away, because we could be sitting there and miss the playoffs on April 18th, and I'd be sitting here looking in the mirror saying, why the heck did you give up those first round picks for players when you didn't make the playoffs? So managing our assets right now is important. My job as the general manager is watch out for today, but also the future. And I think today could have been a dangerous day if we were just trying to live for today.
And just one more, Don. As you mentioned, inventory and probably the salary cap and the tightness of the races, inventory, especially as you said, contributed to this being a very, very strong seller's market. Was there ever a point over the last 48 hours where someone made a pitch for Ivan Provorov that might have gave you pause to think for a minute?
Excuse me. Not really, because I was pretty public saying that we were not going to trade them. And, I had a few guys that poked around today and yesterday to see if we changed our opinion on that. But, again, just repeat myself, what we've been through, I just felt that I could not rip a big part of this team out of that locker. I just didn't think it was fair to the rest of the guys, the coaches, or the fans. And so, we made a decision to keep Proby, and, I've had great conversations with his agent. I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to get a deal. And if we don't, obviously we'll have to find a replacement for him.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Mark Scheid. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, thanks, Glenn. Hey, Don, were you approached by anybody to be a third-party broker, and was there interest by you to possibly take that on?
Yes, for sure. We got approached several times, and we had two go down yesterday, and both teams, the deal didn't go through. So we had two lined up yesterday. A lot of times the team will line up ahead of time, knowing that, if they get the player, they got to move fast. So we had two yesterday that were lined up, and we had another one today. And unfortunately, the teams we were working with didn't get the players that they're hoping to get. So, but we were definitely interested in trying to gain some assets if that was a way to do it.
And last one for me, I had heard that Denton Matejchuk was papered to Cleveland. Can you confirm that, and what may have went into that decision?
Well, we just want, a young player, and, hopefully, again, we'll be playing playoff hockey here in Columbus. And if not, and Cleveland's still going on down in the American League. I think it's a great experience. I've always said playoff hockey. I don't care what level you're playing at. It's hard hockey and it's great experience. So, we just want to keep that as an option. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but we definitely want to keep an option moving forward.
Next, we'll go to Jeff Svoboda. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Glenn. Don, you've mentioned a couple of times here about keeping this team together and giving them a chance, especially with the guys who are UFAs to be. Is that something that you maybe discussed with your leadership, discussed with guys in the room, and what was kind of their reaction, if so, when you basically said you wanted to give this team a chance to make a run here?
Yeah, the guys pretty much knew what I think was. I had a couple calls today, couple of texts from a couple of our players, and they're very supportive. They know the situation, and actually some of them, one particular, and I'll leave it nameless, is that we've got our guys, we've gotten the team this far, we can get it the rest of the way. So that was always good to hear in one of our top players. So these guys, this is a tight group. I've been around a lot of hockey teams, around good groups of people. This group is special, and I've said that along here. We're in this position because the leadership in that room. Coaches have done a great job, but the leadership in the room from the players, I think, has got us to where we are today, and it's going to finish the job for us as we move forward.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go back to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Don, there were a ton of trades today involving second round picks. You don't have one this year or next. Did that keep you out of a certain markets that you may have been in otherwise?
No, I guess there's a couple teams that only wanted a 26 second round pick, and yeah, we could have probably picked one up by moving one of our first round for a couple seconds, but I didn't think that would be a good management asset right now. So I would say there might have been one or two things that people are definite on a second round pick. I know one team that was wanting a second round pick, and I told them I didn't have one. I'd give you a third and fourth, and they felt that was equal value, and then they decided not to trade the player. So I think if there's a deal to be made and you can find a way, but I do agree. Some people want that highest pick possible and not multiple picks, and so I can't really say, but it certainly played a part in some of the trades, I'm sure.
Yeah. And did you consider sending Matejchuk down to clear him through for the AHL playoffs?
Yeah, we did that today. We
okay?
we papered him down and then call him back. And like I said, whether we send him down at the end of the year, we'll see how the rest of the year goes. We're hoping we're in the playoffs, but playoff hockey is good experience. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at, and being a first year pro, we wanted to leave ourselves that option, so we did.
Yeah. Is it just with all the games that he's played here, does that come into account if you do make the
Sure.
post, maybe
Yeah, sure. We'll see. Well, I guess that's what I said. We have that option. We may not use it, but come April, whatever day, if we don't make the playoffs, then we'll have to make that decision.
Yeah. Thanks, Don.
We'll go back to Brian Hedger. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Don, just really quick, kind of going back to the team itself, getting a chance to see this thing through. This was a team that I think we all knew at the start of the year that was pretty much widely written off outside of Columbus as not even having any chance to be where they are right now. And they kind of took that as a, put it on your shoulder, chip on the shoulder type thing. Is this another one of those opportunities for them to, like, when you talk to them, do you get the sense that they're not only like, yeah, we want to see it through, but yeah, we'll prove, that we can do this type of thing?
Yeah, maybe to not that extent, but I know these guys are proud players, and I know everything we've been through and gone this far, and been a lot of probably not as much optimists that we'd be at this spot, and so definitely the guys are they're proud athletes. So it's like I said, I'm very proud of them to be able to put ourselves in a spot that we're playing these games in March that are meaningful. But I don't know if it's used as much as a locker room to help the guys. I think these guys have enough motivation through their own means that they're going to get it done.
We'll head back to Mark Scheid. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Glenn. Don, just to build off that question, a message like that, just how powerful can that be when you tell the team you're keeping Ivan Provorov? Can that resonate with maybe guys that are considering coming to Columbus in the future, like from a cultural standpoint?
Yeah, I think when you make those decisions, those no one ever hurts you. That's for sure. If just because we're where we were, it doesn't mean we're always going to sell off free agents. I've been in this position multiple times in my career. There's sometimes you have to make those tough decisions, but the, I think the times you keep the guys at the deadline, you always get an extra boost from your players and potentially from other players that look and say, "Hey, we're just because we're a free agent and we signed there for 1 year doesn't mean we're going to be playing someplace else at the trade deadline." So I think it is a good message.
Nick, do we have any other questions? All right, no more questions. Thanks, Don, for your time, and thanks to everyone for jumping on today.